9 creepiest roads you should avoid at all costs by Lazy Masquerade. I love seeing the different eras of his logo, honestly. I think it's really cool to see them, because he definitely goes through a few different eras where his intro is different. Also a non-invasive way to plug the Patreon and socials. I like it. I would love to see more of this. I'm ready for this. Hit me with this. Oh,
let's kick this video
I've heard of this.
with a friendly-sounding stretch of road. The Highway of Tears in British Columbia, Canada. Sounds inviting, right? Well, if you're planning a road trip, I wouldn't recommend it. And that's not because there are any sharp turns or great heights to fall from. The highway gets its nickname for one simple, morbid reason. The number of slayings that have occurred there, not to mention all of the disappearances. Since 1970, right up to the present day, the highway has been a hotspot for maniacs. The exact number of people whose lives have been ended along the highway isn't known, but estimates range from 18 to 83.
Okay.
This isn't thought to be the work of one person either. Experts believe that most of the cases are isolated.
What is the highway? Give me a second. I literally talked about this recently. Oregon. It's John Arthur Aykroyd, former highway worker. I think it's Highway 20 in Oregon is the one that yeah, the Ghost of Highway 20. Yeah, I'm seeing the Wikipedia article right there. I mean, even down in the States, we kind of have certain things like that. Yeah, the Ghost of Highway 20, a very notable thing that people have made videos on a lot. It sucks. Yeah, I'm assuming it's just because of how isolated this stretch of road is, and that just attracts certain people.
So, what makes this particular highway such a playground for depravity? Well, first off, the road is extremely isolated. If you were to, say, pick up a hitchhiker there, it's unlikely there'd be any witnesses to see you give them a ride.
Right, okay.
And speaking of hitchhikers, there are a lot of them along this road. The area surrounding the highway is poor, with many of the locals unable to afford their own vehicle. Most of these locals are indigenous people. If they need to travel to see family, go to school, or get medical treatment, then catching a ride with a stranger is sometimes their only option.
Right.
That puts them at the mercy of whoever's passing along the highway. If the guy who decides to stop and give you a lift has something more sinister in mind for you, then there's probably not going to be anyone around to hear your screams, nor anywhere for you to run. Additionally, there are plenty of carnivorous scavengers that call the roadside home. If you were to dump a lifeless human carcass on the side of the road, they'd quickly be disposed of by the local creatures. When you take all of this into account, it's easy to see why some perps on the road feel a sense of impunity. And there's nobody else around. Hiding evidence is easy. The perfect conditions for random, spontaneous slaughter. As such, some people, who might seem normal in real life, but harbor a secret darkness in their heart, might take the opportunity to indulge in that darkness. After all, on this road, who's gonna find out?
I think this is definitely one of those situations. It's this weird perfect trifecta, right? It's because it's isolated and home to people who, right, as it's saying, like a lot of them can't really necessarily afford the vehicle. It's almost like crime of opportunity, right? Are you going to rob the mansion with security cameras, or are you going to rob the person who's out of town most days who might leave the door unlocked from time to time? It's crimes of opportunity, right? It's very... The situation there is very hospitable to spontaneous crime like that. And third, the cleanup is... the road literally does it for you because, yeah, you're going to have carnivorous animals pop along. So it's this weird, perfect, messed up trifecta, which definitely makes it seem like a magnet for this kind of stuff. which is unfortunate because this stuff shouldn't have to happen. And I think this also goes into conversations about human nature, you know, the faces and masks we wear, being born evil, which I know some philosophies posit. That is way outside the scope of the video. It is one of those things. Just make sure that you're being safe. It doesn't have to necessarily be the Highway of Tears. It doesn't even have to be on, you know, Highway 20 down in the States, right? Just make sure you're being safe. Make sure that you're doing everything you can to get to your destination or get home safely. Because there are people who will stop that.
And this next entry makes the list for one very simple reason. It's ranked as the most dangerous road in the world.
Okay.
What an honor.
I hate that.
The North Yungas Road in Bolivia. The perfect place for people seeking adventure.
Bro, why is it South America? I guess it's because of its climate, right? Climate, geography, etc. South America, you have some really, really twisted roads that I mean both in a physical and a metaphorical sense.
Scenic views. And quite possibly an early appointment with the Reaper.
I wouldn't do it.
Every year, an average of 300 people lose their lives while passing along this narrow, 3-meter-wide mountain track.
You could not pay me enough.
The road itself runs on for 43 miles and connects Coroico and La Paz. With a peak height of more than 15,000 feet, many parts of the road are above cloud level, so saying that there are sometimes visibility issues is a bit of an understatement.
Yeah, that's like saying water is wet. That's like saying the sun is hot. The sky is blue. Oh my dude, you could not pay me enough to. I would walk. Oh, I would be the weird guy in there. I would hike something like this, absolutely. But being an actual road and drive, no way, no how. I would not do this. No way.
That wouldn't be such a problem if there wasn't a sheer drop along one side of the road pretty much the entire way. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon to see either the vehicle in front of you or behind you go plunging over the side of the mountain, reminding you just how much is at risk while you make your way along the thin, muddy gravel trail. This usually happens while they attempt a risky overtaking maneuver.
Right.
Road rage can also be a huge problem, with aggressive and impatient motorists pressuring you to go faster around the tight, narrow...
Was this the road Top Gear went on, or was that a different road in South America?
...corners, of which there are more than 200. There have even been reports of vehicles ramming into other cars on the road, forcing them over the edge. Whether those incidents were accidents or intentional is anyone's guess.
Yeah, that makes the perfect cover-up.
The most incident on Yungas Road occurred when a bus veered over the edge of the mountain. In an instant, 100 people lost their lives. If this trail happens to be on your road trip bucket list, then I highly recommend leaving it until last, as there's a good chance it'll be the last journey you ever embark on.
I love that it's called Death Road. Yeah, you couldn't pay me enough to drive that. Dude, you could give me like Mr. Beast contract level money and I'd have to refuse that. Like life-changing amounts of money could not make me drive on that road. That is wild to my brain. Philippines. I'm ready for this.
If you're from the Philippines, then you're probably already familiar with this one.
No,
Forgive my pronunciation, sir. Balete Drive is a real place in Quezon City, infamous for one of its more spectral residents. The White Lady. If you pass along the road during daylight hours, you're unlikely to become acquainted with her. Pass through during the midnight hours though, and that all changes. According to an urban legend that dates back to the 1950s, a young woman in a white dress hailed a taxi one night all by herself and asked the driver to take her home. The driver agreed, but apparently had other plans in mind. He took her as far as Balete Drive, where he then stopped the vehicle and forced himself upon the woman in the back of the cab. She fought back and was battered by the driver. After he'd had his way with her, he dumped her under one of the balete trees along the drive.
So when we talk about like, well, why don't women just fight back? Right? Because I know that's a viewpoint that gets expressed a lot. Fighting back doesn't always work. in fact, can make the situation harsher. Like, ideally, the situation doesn't have to happen to begin with, right? But yeah, like, unfortunately, even fighting back can just yield no results. And that's truly depressing.
And then sped off into the night. Sadly, he had injured her too severely. Alone, afraid, and in agony, she passed away beneath the tree. In the Philippines, the balete tree is believed to have magical properties. Many believe that because her life ended beneath one of the baletes, the woman was able to return to this mortal coil,
Interesting.
bitter and seeking revenge. Nowadays, if you pass through Balete Drive between midnight and 3 a.m., you just might spot a woman standing by the edge of the road, looking for a ride. There have been hundreds of alleged sightings, many from taxi drivers, though also from other motorists who describe the woman as a hitchhiker. Either way, all of the sightings have a few things in common. The woman is always dressed in white. When picked up, she'll enter the back of the vehicle and sit quietly. When the driver looks in their rearview mirror, they'll see that the woman's face is bruised and contorted, no longer recognizably human. She'll then blink out of existence. Other people have reported not seeing the woman at the side of the road at all, but even so, when they checked their rearview mirror, her twisted face was there, staring back at them. When they checked their back seats, there was no trace of her at all. Many drivers have crashed due to the shock of seeing the white lady. Other drivers say their crashes were unexplainable, that they didn't see the woman at all, and that they suddenly just lost control of their vehicle on Balete Drive, as if someone else suddenly turned the wheel and hit the accelerator.
I mean, condition of the road could cause something like that, right? If the road conditions are poor. I'm not saying or accusing the pedestrians of being poor, right? But if your wheels hit something, right, could that hypothetically veer you? Or what's a mundane explanation for this, right? Being able to just veer off in a specific direction, especially if you're, say, actually keeping track of things. Is it necessarily around the same spot? If so, is there something with the road? Is the road disheveled? Is the road not poorly maintained, right? I think that there's some follow-up you could reasonably do. But just to have it jerked in your hand is definitely going to be a very nerve-wracking experience.
Now every motorist in the area knows not to look in their rearview mirror or pick up any women dressed in white or passing down Balete Drive. The lady in white became a very popular bit of folklore in the country, and thrill seekers and ghost hunters alike flocked to Balete Drive to look for her. The road itself is now heavily patrolled at night, since the locals were constantly being woken up by the screams of people who spotted her.
Right.
Well, allegedly spotted her, that is. This legend is probably just a cautionary tale after all. One about the dangers of picking up hitchhikers, or if looked at another way, the risk you assume when getting into an unlicensed cab at night. But there are so many accounts from otherwise grounded, skeptical people that it does make you wonder. So, what do you think? Could there be any truth to this urban legend? I guess the only way to know for sure is to drive down Balete Drive yourself and see if you make a new friend dressed in white.
No, I'm good. I think I look at things like this, like I was explaining before we started this video, because I was going in between videos. Like, I'll take things like this with pretty good faith, right? If you lie to me or try to pull the wool over my eyes, cool, you're done. I'm not going to listen to you, right? But if you're like in good faith, this is a thing that happened to me, I can't explain it. Like, sure, yeah, I'll believe it. Like, yeah, I'm not going to say that I don't, I know better than you because clearly wasn't in the situation, right? I think it's an interesting bit of folklore. I don't know if there's a verifiable incident or not that people could point to. It seems like, it'd be a pretty big deal, right? I also don't know enough about the trees specifically in the area, right? I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about, and I think it's got a lot of good elements going for it in regards to a spooky story. In regards to potential event happening in, producing cautionary tales. Yeah. Just make sure you're being safe. There's a danger you assume both as the passenger and the driver both when you pitch up someone hitchhiking, pick up anyone off the side of the road, right? There are inherent dangers associated with that. And even then, even if you get into a sticky situation, fighting back, whether you're male, female, whatever, AC-130 toaster, whatever you identify as, could just not work. And you could end up in an awful situation. And then obviously you have that supernatural element with the trees itself, aiding her ability to kind of return and kind of act as kind of this. I don't know how you'd word it. I don't know how you'd word that. Like acting as sort of a beacon, not necessarily a guide, right? But like, you know, I'd have to delve into the mythos here and figure out if there's a through line in regards to who was targeted to crash, the wheel jerked out of their hands versus who was just kind of let go, right? You know, kind of a judge, jury, executioner kind of moment.
Not one specific road for this entry, but an entire road network. There's a whole host of poorly maintained, slippery and dangerous roads that run along the slopes of the Himalayan mountain range. I wouldn't recommend traveling across these routes if you suffer from vertigo, dislike sharp turns in thin roads, or just have a vague sense of self-preservation or desire to continue living.
No, I wouldn't do it. No way.
Naturally, being up in the mountains, the weather on some of these passes can get quite intense to say the least. Take, for example, the Zojila Pass in India, located 3,500 meters up in the Himalayas. The area suffers from sudden, extreme snowfall, which can leave the road covered in snow 24 meters deep. More than likely, though, you'll just get caught in the heavy rainfall as you navigate your way along the winding track ahead of you.
No way, bro.
Every year, people get stranded up in those mountain roads due to unexpected weather problems and need to be rescued.
Bro, they're pulling it around. Come on now. What is no?
Those are, of course, the lucky ones. Since there are hardly any barriers on these routes, many others have gone hurtling over the edges, as was the case in 2012 when a...
Dude, I've had nightmares about San Bernardino Mountains, right in California. I've had nightmares where I'm driving it, and they for some reason are a lot steeper in the dreams and nightmares that I have. And I just hurtle off, and like I'm so cognizant while I'm falling. Oh, I couldn't do it. No way.
A bus full of tourists skidded off the side of Zojila Pass and into a deep gorge. Sadly, that was just one case. The Himalayan road network has claimed many lives over the decades. If you find yourself up in those mountains at some point, all I can say is, drive safely. You'll need to.
So I know Dragon Spit does a lot of driving videos, right? A lot of driving reactions. Whenever I feel like Dragon Spit would get a kick out of some of these roads. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. You couldn't pay me. Oh, we were talking about this recently.
Just east of the Nevada border, running through the desert northwest from Wickenburg to Kingman, you'll find Highway 93, known to many as Blood Alley, a title the road has done everything in its power to earn. So, what makes this particular road so creepy, you might be asking yourself? Well, like many others, it's an exceptionally risky route. That's in part because of the road itself, how it winds through the hills and has a plethora of blind curves and essentially no shoulder room.
Yes.
But it's also because of its location. This highway runs through the hills, meaning there's an abundance of sections where cell phones can't get a signal and radios produce nothing but static. It's not only the landscape surrounding you that's barren. Usually the road itself is deserted too. It's not unusual to travel the full length of the road without seeing another car on your journey. If you happen to break down or crash somewhere in the middle of the highway, there's a good chance you'll be stuck there for a while. Pair with that the extreme temperatures of the desert, a limited supply of water, and no cell signal, and you have yourself a serious dilemma. You don't have to worry about forgetting how unsafe this road is. There are constant reminders along the way. The entire length of the highway is dotted with small, white crosses, marking where past travelers met their untimely end. Sometimes you'll see a cluster of several crosses. Those mark the spots where entire vehicles of people perished. There's one particular spot that's home to 6 of these crosses. A family of 6. With so many terrible accidents occurring on the highway over the years, it's no wonder many locals say the road's haunted. A whole host of sightings have been reported by travelers, but one infamous resident ghost is known as the Highwayman. If you find yourself traveling Highway 93 late at night, you might catch sight of a lantern glowing on the side of the road. As you get closer, you'll see who's holding it. A shadowy figure, standing around 6 feet tall, wearing a black duster, jeans, spurred boots, and a black cowboy hat that hides his face. He's usually seen alongside his old model Harley, presumably that he met his end on while traveling the road. Many people have claimed to see him. According to them, as you come to pass him, he'll take a step back and fade into the shadows. The light from his lantern will vanish with him. Depending on how you look at it, the Highwayman either acts as a distraction while traveling the road, or a grim reminder of just how treacherous the route really is.
I mean, it feels like, if we're going the paranormal route, right, it feels like this is a individual who... It feels like this is an individual who's acting as a, hey, pay attention kind of thing, right? So assume residual haunting status, right? Of just like, hey, pay attention, don't meet the same fate, right? Is kind of how I look at that. I mean, the danger with isolated roads in general, not even necessarily a supernatural thing, right? But just conditions, right? Whether it's going to be a wreck in isolation, which you're not going to be able to get cell service, or you're going to have very delayed emergency response service to. You also don't know if somebody is going to... my big concern is you don't know if somebody's going to try to carjack you in a section that doesn't have cell service, right? It wouldn't be that hard to get a few people together and try to highway rob someone, right? I mean, that really is what it comes down to. I mean, it really comes down to a trifecta of, like the first one, conditions, isolation, and crimes of opportunity, right? Is really... I guess it's a little different than the first one, right? But the Highway of Tears. But it comes down to a trifecta, right? A bunch of these things work in tandem with each other to make a bad stretch of road. I don't know. I'd have to go research into this a little more. I'd have to see what people are saying about it. I looked it up on Google, and I thought it was near California, so it looks like Google didn't know exactly what I was talking about. I don't know. when do you get the streamer challenge of a bunch of TikTokers streaming their journey through this, right? Oh, going back to South America now.
Anyone who speaks Portuguese knows what this road's name means. BR-116, or Rodovia da Morte as it's called by the locals, is the second longest highway in Brazil. It runs from Fortaleza all the way to Jaguaro. Every year, millions of people travel along this highway, and every year, thousands of them lose their lives.
Wild.
So, what makes this road so dangerous? Well, like other entries on this list, there are sections of the road that wind along cliff edges. The worst section for this comes as you approach Sao Paulo, where you have to drive exceptionally close to sheer drops, while, on unlucky days, being simultaneously bombarded by strong winds and rain. A recipe for disaster, if ever there was one.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, accidents along this part of the road are so distressingly common that the locals aren't even surprised by them anymore.
Oof.
They've literally become a daily occurrence. Just as dangerous as the slopes, however, are the humans waiting for passing drivers. Police patrols along the road are very few and far between, and the pass is often littered with bandits, especially at nighttime. These guys don't have so much a live and let live mentality as a live, now gimme your car, now die mentality. So, yeah, if you find yourself in Brazil, a road trip from Rio to Sao Paulo might not be such a great idea.
I think it's one of those that people could probably pick on South America, and I'm sure there's problems down there, right? But I mean, we run into the same issue. I mean, that's what I was literally discussing with the last entry, right? Blood Alley, right? Or what we were discussing with any of these other Highway of Tears, right? Like it's very easy for people to set up a tax of opportunity, right? And I don't think it's necessary. I mean, sure, maybe there's crime rates of these things you could pull up in regards to consistency of these crimes, types of crimes in comparison with other countries and stuff, right? I think this is just less a country thing and more a humans just do this thing, and if there's more opportunity to do so, they'll take the opportunity to do the thing. But that's realistically, you should always be safe, right? You should always make sure that you're looking out for anything strange. You're driving defensively, right? And you're able to understand how to get unstuck from a situation if you find yourself in a poor situation like that.
I've covered this road on the channel in the past, but I feel it warrants another quick mention in this video, given the subject matter. Zombie Road. Officially known as Al Foster Trail, it's easily the shortest road on this list, coming in at only 2 miles. What it lacks in length, however, it more than makes up for in infamy. Zombie Road is considered one of Missouri's most haunted places, and is arguably one of the most haunted roads in the world.
Okay.
The surrounding woodland is home to one of the country's largest Native American burial grounds, which pretty much goes hand in hand with paranormal happenings.
I mean, that is really one of those things that it when you hear that, I almost feel like I don't believe it at this point, because it's a trope that has gone so far and beyond that it almost feels like it gets muddled, right? But then again, I personally don't have any experience living next to a Native American burial ground. I don't know anybody who has experiences with this kind of thing. And pop culture has kind of done a good job of like defanging things, creatures like the Wendigo and stuff, right? Because just pop culture, right? It's just so normalized and stuff. Whether they exist or not, like, I'm not here to say. That is one of those things that the moment I hear, oh, well, this is next to Native American burial ground, it's like, okay, did Stephen King write this? Are we looking at Pet Sematary? What's going on here? But there could genuinely be something with the area. I'm ready to see what Zombie Road is.
It's a strange place for sure, but what's interesting about the road is that you're not actually allowed to go there after sundown.
Security, sure.
It's guarded and heavily patrolled by the police.
Okay.
If you get caught trespassing, you'll receive a hefty $1,000 fine.
Why? Road repair, disrepair. Like, I don't immediately assume like there's some kind of like military base here. I don't assume something like that. It could be a deterrence thing, right? Like Inunaki Tunnel in Japan. How people try to find the mythical Inunaki village where the Constitution of Japan isn't allegedly enforced there, which that's just a legend, right? It's japes, Chad. It's japes. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, because so many people go there, it starts to mess with the environment and destroy the area around it, littering, etc. It could also be safety issues, right? I mean, people urban explore. They urban explore a lot of places they're not supposed to, not because it's a military installation or anything like that, or prior, but it's more like, the roof can cave on you any second. You could fall straight through the floors, right? I could see it totally being a disrepair kind of thing.
Still, that doesn't stop some people.
Oh, it could also be on tribal land too. That is also a fair point.
From sneaking onto the road and exploring it for themselves.
Right.
Thing is, they have to do so on foot. The road's pretty much impassable by car nowadays, having fallen into disrepair.
Right, okay.
Those who have gone exploring the trail have reported seeing some exceptionally eerie things, and their accounts are all strikingly similar. They're consumed by an overwhelming sensation of dread, and feel like they're being followed while walking the trail.
Yeah, I had that happen once in Idaho too. This was a couple cities over. I talked about this before, like paraphrasing. Middle of the night, thought they were lights outside someone's house, and then there were headlights behind me, and then the headlights disappeared. But when the headlights were following me, there was just an overwhelming feeling of dread and malice. It was interesting. I got out of there super quick. Yeah, no, I get the feeling of dread.
Those brave enough not to turn back have reported hearing footsteps following them, and strange figures standing at the edge of the woodland, watching them as they pass through.
Okay.
Many believe these to be the spirits of former railway workers who perished while working on the tracks that run through the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Some believe that those workers rise from their graves at night, hence the name of the road. The nearby river has also claimed many lives in its time, even in recent years. It's not uncommon for human remains to wash up on its banks.
I mean, at that point, it does feel like a security concern, right? If there's a common occurrence of people just washing up, clearly it seems like, yeah, they're just trying to lock down the area and they're trying to keep people out. not because there's something supernatural going on, but because like there's literal like environmental dangers that are literally costing people's lives.
The woods are also filled with abandoned, dilapidated shacks.
Okay.
One in particular at the end of the trail is said to be the home of the Screaming Woman. The ghost of an elderly lady who screams at those who pass by. Multiple hikers have reported seeing her, standing in the doorway of the shack, crying out to them.
Okay. So at what point do you dismiss people like that as crackheads, though? Like let's take a minute to like actually discuss that. Like, sure, abandoned shack. At what point do you think that they're squatters or crackheads? I mean, there's a number of people who just don't want to be found, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be supernatural. It could very much just be squatters. Could be a bunch of crackheads. Could be some runaways. Could be felons. You don't know, right? Like, there isn't necessarily, depending how far back it goes, right? Like, there isn't necessarily a supernatural element to it. I think the other thing too. So, I mean, how do you report that as well, right? How do you report to the police, right? If you're worried about that, right? If you're worried about actual people being out there, you can't necessarily go to the police and be like, hey, so I was out here on this road at night and this lady screamed at me, right? You were trespassing, right? It's kind of the catch-22 that urban explorers could find themselves in. What happens if you urban explore an abandoned house and you find a body in the basement, right? You find a cadaver. What do? You can't. Do you call the police? I think reasonably you call the police anonymously. I think is what you do. Hey, you should check this out. Basement level. You need to go check it out. There is a cadaver here. Have a nice day. Right? Click. Right. I mean, because at that point you're trespassing, especially if you have a firearm or a weapon on you. That can also look really bad because you are trespassing on land, right? On property. So I guess I kind of view that in tandem with this, where it's like, at what point can you write it off as not supernatural? And if it's not supernatural and there's people actually just squatting there, right? And you don't even know. It could be, sure, they're dilapidated, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's abandoned, right? It could still be an active town. I don't know. Like, there's a number of variables there. There's a number of variables there that would have to get addressed to really formulate a plan of action, right? And even then, what crime has been committed, right? I guess technically you could say that they're trespassing, but this lady screamed at me in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night where you're not supposed to be? Okay, let's have a talk about that, champ, right? That kind of mentality. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's, I don't know, somewhere in the southeast U.S., I hear, areas around Louisiana and stuff. Not that this was there, right? This is Missouri, right? But, yeah, I hear some stuff happens in the southeastern U.S. I hear some spook happens.
Having lived in Taiwan for a while, I already knew I wanted to include this entry before I even started researching this video.
Okay.
Located in what's colloquially known as the Taiwanese Grand Canyon, Taroko Gorge is one of Taiwan's 9 beautiful national parks. Taroko itself translates into magnificent or splendid. Certainly not words I'd use to describe the road that runs through it. Taroko Gorge Road is made up of a series of tunnels carved into the mountain. That's all well and good, but when earthquakes and typhoons are a common occurrence, it's not unusual for things like this to happen.
Okay.
To put it mildly, if you have the metal to get behind the wheel on this road, falling boulders and debris pose a significant risk to your health. On top of that, the road itself is pretty unpredictable, full of steep climbs, blind turns, and sharp curves. Lots of sections don't even have barriers, and on more than one occasion, vehicles have gone careening over the side of the steep Taroko Mountains.
Wild.
In 2012, 14 people were lucky to escape with their lives when a bus failed to climb an incline in the road. The bus hit one of the barriers of the road on the way down, but went sliding down the slopes of the mountain regardless, injuring everyone on board. Taiwan's a beautiful place for sure. Just maybe catch a train if you want to visit Taroko Gorge.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to you have to make sure you're worrying about environmental factors. I mean, there was a couple times where it stormed in where I used to live, right? San Bernardino Mountains, and boulders. I mean, boulders would just fall, right? You're on top of just geology. You're on top of a geological feature. Weather can erode rock. Things can happen. Obviously, if you're in the Ring of Fire area, right around that, I'm assuming this is. I could probably look on a map and look at where exactly it is in the Ring of Fire, right? Lot of tectonic activity for all intents and purposes, right? Tectonic plates, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, it looks good. It looks really pretty, but yeah, it looks like you're really fighting geology there.
Morrow Road is perhaps one of the most chilling routes you can drive in all of North America.
Mm-hmm.
Near Detroit, just across Lake St. Clair, you'll find Clay Township, a small, rural community. Running through it is Morrow Road, a 2-lane strip of paved road lined on both sides by thick woodland.
Mm-hmm.
On the surface, it's pretty unassuming. Just another dusty trail in the good old US of A. But appearances can be deceiving. It's actually home to a rather chilling urban legend. As the story goes, in 1893, a woman went out in the middle of the night during a snowstorm. Her reason? She was frantically looking for her young son, who had gotten out of the house somehow. The storm was severe that night, and while searching for her child, the woman sadly froze. Neither her nor her son were ever found. Rumor has it that the woman still hangs around Morrow Road though, only in a much more ethereal sense. If you live near the area, here's something you can try for yourself. Legend says that if you drive out to Morrow Road at midnight and park on the old bridge, you can perform a very simple ritual to summon the frozen lady.
Mm-hmm.
Simply honk your horn 3 times. Many people say that if you do, the woman will appear to see if you have her son. According to people who claim to have seen her, she'll be wearing a white gown stained red with claret. Her face will be distorted, and her eyes will be missing.
I mean, like, the question you have to ask is, like, why, right? Like, why? Like, you've seen, what is it? The 10-mile game. I know that was going around TikTok, where you're supposed to drive and do certain things. You're supposed to be transported to another dimension. The elevator game in Japan, that's a really popular one. I think it's more popular in Korea. Three Kings Ritual. The funny name 3 times in a mirror, right? And then the person appears. Like, or what is it? Dharma fell down. That's a popular one in Japan. Like, why? Like, the question is why? And I think the answer comes down to thrill seeking. The answer, look at the funny, right? Like kind of like being a tourist, so to speak. But like at the same time, why would you open the thing? Could do nothing, right? Like, you could set up, 3 Kings Ritual, whatever. You could set that all up properly, and then it's like, but why? Why would you do that? Even if there's nothing that happens, or nothing does happen, and it's all japes, right? Like, why open yourself up to something like that? Especially because in this point, you're kind of being the dick here, right? By going there and honking 3 times to, like, allegedly she thinking you have her son. Are you just not being the dick there? Like, am I misreading the situation? You're being the jerk in that situation.
If you try to flee, either on foot or in your vehicle, she'll chase after you.
Uh-huh.
If she catches you, it's game over.
Sure.
In the words of one local resident, I was skeptical of this whole legend, so I got together with some friends and we drove out there one night in 1992. We shut off the car and sat there for a minute. My friend honked the horn a few times, and right away, we heard a baby crying. It was coming from underneath the bridge. We got out of the car, and I leaned over the guardrail. I could hear it crying, but I couldn't see anything. Somewhere, out of the darkness, we heard a woman shout, "Where's my baby?"
Just don't. Even if you encounter nothing, why? Just don't open yourself up to it. No way. No how. Come on now. Use that self-preservation instinct. I don't know what it was. It felt like there was some audio crackling throughout the entire video. I didn't want to mention it till the end because I feel like it could spoil it. But like, I don't know. There was something.
Hey guys, Lazy here, and thank you very much for listening. Well, I certainly wouldn't recommend any road trips down these roads, that's for sure. Before this video ends, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon, especially my biggest supporters. Joey Hatfield, Mystic the Manicheet, Infamous Sempapi, Joshua Lindsay, Sieg Carlar, Martin Vatland, Gamma A, Kelly Rocco, Connor Lothan, Kelly Rocco again, Danny Elk, Darius Sapai, Nadine, Sloane Crawford, Sarah Ramirez, Victor Javier Fonseca Ruiz, Anime Wimp, Crazy Mask Parade, James Labour, Procupidine Natter, Gina Valera, Philip Westra, Alex Greensall, Monica Mendoza, Crawford K. McDonald, Marley Wright, and Ray Price Burton.
I actually really like.
So much. Your support really helps the channel out.
It was a little long
Be sure
of
to
a
smash
read.
that like button, or I'll smash you, and I'll be back again very soon.
Like, it was one of those
Until
things.
then, guys, you all stay spooky.
Sorry, I'm trying to have. I'm
And
having to.
remember, the best things happen in the dark.
I literally had trouble reading a speech pattern there. Sorry about that. I mean, I thought it was a pretty long read, but honestly, I thought it was pretty good. I liked how he went through each of his patrons individually. I actually really liked that. But, thank you everyone for watching. I really do appreciate this. At the end of the day, make sure you're being safe. Make sure you're not opening yourself up to something that you may not want to deal with. Just be safe out there. Common sense, all that fun stuff. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next one.